Good morning. We are live. This is Patrick Lee, and it's time for Midweek Motivation Live. Title of today's show, The Monster Under the Bed. What are you talking about, Patrick? We will be back shortly to talk about that. What does it mean? The battle for self confidence, self respect. Who is the monster under the bed? We'll be back right after this. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well today. People already tuning in to watch the show. Love that. Appreciate that. Midweek Motivation Live now on every major podcast platform. Love that. I'm glad to see each and every one of you come back and watch the show. The feedback that we're getting is great. We appreciate each and every feedback message that comes in about the show as well. Sure helps give us motivation. And that's what we're here to do, to help you with, is your motivation as well. Midweek Motivation Live, motivating you to success in every area of life. Today, the title of the show, The Monster Under the Bed. What are we talking about? And I recently watched a series of videos from multiple speakers, some from the past, some more current, some things that really resonated in my life, in my heart, my mind, and probably will resonate in yours as well. Hey, Sal, good to see you on already today. We have multiple people watching the show live locally and around the world. We love that. A little shaky, my camera mount today. The table is a little shaky for some reason. I apologize if there's a little bit of vibration in the video. That should level itself out here shortly. So the battle for self-respect, the monster under the bed. When you were a child, many of you can remember or heard stories about. We watch movies about the child that's afraid of the monsters under the bed. You need to sleep with a nightlight. How many of you ever had to sleep with a nightlight? My daughters slept with a nightlight when they were young. As a matter of fact, it wasn't for fear of the monsters under the bed, but it was fear of the dark. Many people have fears of numerous things: fear of the dark, fear of wild animals, fear of strange dogs, fear of the monsters under the bed. And then they actually made a movie, of course, Monsters Inc., which was hilarious, it seemed, when it came out, but actually brought about a very bad topic and undertone in that movie, and it was the scaring of the children that caused these monsters to fuel up their tanks. And it was a fear based. It was all about gathering the fear of these children and playing on those fears, making those fears, extreme. And that's one of the things that we don't need to be doing. So the monster under the bed, the topic today, and is there a battle for self-respect? And if so, why do you think that is? That is the first topic. And I believe that there is. In the beginning of time, back in the early days, we started watching movies. Cody had a nightlight of fear, stubbing my pinky toe. Dude, I had that same one. That's crazy, right? There's a lot of us share the same fears. I have stubbed my pinky toe in the dark, and it's horrible. You hit that one little toe, you roll trying to break your fall, and that one little pinky toe bears the brunt of the injury for your whole body. It's horrible. So that a lot of people had those fears. Slept with a nightlight. A few years ago, I went online, I think Instagram, some social media site was advertising these outlet covers that you can take off your existing outlet cover and screw this other one on. And it has a little light sensor on there. And when it gets dark, it has three little lights, night lights on the bottom of the outlet. So you have an ability to see the ground in front of the outlets at night. There's a little bit of light down there, so you can see enough to get up and move around in the dark. without that fear. So we bought some and we've put them um, primarily just in the bedroom outlets at night. So if you do get up to get a drink of water, to go to the restroom or what have you, you've got enough light to be able to see where you're going. It's a cute little night light, but it's very handy and it only comes on in the dark. You turn on the lights, they go off. Hello, Lisa. Good to see you on here as well. I'm sure you have incredible fears of the monsters under the bed, Lisa, like most of the rest of us when we were younger. But we're going to turn the tables on that here shortly. Is there? So is it comes down to the first question: is there a battle for self-respect? And if so, why do you think that is? And it's odd that this is the way I would start this. You may think, is there a battle for self-respect? I believe there is a battle for self-respect, and it's also along with self-respect, it is self-confidence. And the reason I believe that many of us have this fear of the monster under the bed is when we were young, we have not yet learned to develop the self-respect, the self-confidence, the inner knowing that we have the ability to overcome these fears within ourselves. So it is being bred out of us. It is being taught out of us. The Survivor called it the eye of the tiger, right? It became a very famous song. It went on to be in Rocky movies and different movies, many different videos. That song, "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor, has been the anthem for many people. But I'm going to go all the way back to my childhood. In middle school is the first time I remember this happening. Middle school for me was in the early 70s. I'm telling my age here, early 70s. And we had a competition at the local college in the next town over. And it was for all, we had classes in middle school that were there to urge you to explore things you may want to be when you grow up. Hello, Elva. Good to see you watching as well. I always love it when people I know and friends are watching the show. But in middle school, we had this competition, and it was for career day, things that you might want to get into, and it ranged everywhere from cooking, the culinary arts, to metal shop, to debate, to different kinds of careers you may want to get into. So they had this competition going on, and you would enter a project. It could be a recipe for something in the cooking portion. It could be in creative writing, thinking about going into journalism. And I ended up submitting a story into this competition, not necessarily a good story. And the teachers didn't even urge you to do something great. They said, just enter something so we can, compete, so we can position ourselves to be there. If you want to go, and this was a school wide thing, if you want to go, you have to enter some category. So I wrote a basic story, threw it in, and said, I want to go to this career competition day. And I did not even come close to placing, but I ended up going home with a certificate, an award for entering the competition. That's the first time I remember getting a participation trophy, was this certificate. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I still have it somewhere in a scrapbook, because I thought at the time it was funny that I got an award for not even trying. And I think that's about the time that we started taking away or training away or teaching our children it's okay, you can still get an award if you don't try. And I think at that time, and this has gone on in many different cities, probably in school districts and other areas, probably long before that, maybe 50 or 60, 70 years, we started teaching our children that they need to be docile and controllable, and that you need to join the masses. You need to think like the whole, the group, and not stand out. You don't want to be the class clown, the class comedian. You don't want to be the person that's the class bully, but you also don't want to, you just want to join in and everyone needs to be the same. How boring is that for all of us to be the same? I've heard it said, and I've shared on the show, if more than two of us are alike, then one or more of us is obsolete and redundant and unnecessary, right? We don't need to have a group of people that are all the same. We can all continue to move toward a common goal. Yes, that doesn't make us the same. Our diversity, don't get ahead of me here. Our diversity and our difference, a better way to say that, our differentiation factor is what actually adds value to who we are as an individual person. And in this battle for self-respect, we have got to get back to the point that we bring out this ability within our children, within our spouses, and within ourselves to want to win, to know that we have the ability inside, the self respect for our ability to know that in a competition, in an altercation, we have the ability to not only defend ourselves or defend others who are less fortunate than we are, but that we have that knowledge, that inner confidence, that inner respect for who we are to know that we can do that. And I think at the time that we achieve that, that monster under the bed becomes a little less scary. Where has our instinct to win gone? When did we start handing out these participation trophies? For me, it was in about 1974, maybe 1973. And that's when this particular one happened to me. And it is odd that I got a participation trophy for that. But then each and every one of the trophies I think that I received after that, I never accepted a participation trophy after that because I thought it was funny and odd. It was kind of a joke to me, especially coming from a Pentecostal, very traditional upbringing. We were I hate to mark myself, but I did at the time. We were the poor Christian kids, the church kids, not the popular. We didn't have a lot of money, but I did have friends. Don't get me wrong, I did have friends, but I wasn't the popular kid. And I was the smallest kid in my class. I started school a year early, so I was the baby of my class, the runt of the litter, you may say, in my grade. Everyone was a little older than me, a little bigger than me, maybe a little faster, stronger than me. So I was the brunt of some jokes. I did get picked on. I did get bullied. I've shared with you in the past, I did run away from school a couple of times. I'm like, I am just independent enough to know if I'm not wanted, I'm not going to stick around. Right. And then I learned later on from people like Michael Jordan that you need to go where you are celebrated, not tolerated. And that became the mindset that I started to adopt. But where has that instinct to win gone? Where has that gone? Why have we trained our children and this whole generation that came along behind me and even my own generation that instinct to win needs to be subdued? It needs to be pushed back and not talked about. It needs to um, you don't need to focus on that. You just need to focus on joining the masses and moving forward. Just join the masses and move forward. Don't stand out. And I think that we have learned that the people that stand out are actually the people that make history. I've heard it said numerous times. I think, and actually the famous actress, probably Mae West, was quoted that something along the lines of the boldest women, the ones that stood out the most and broke all the rules, are the ones that made history. That nice girls never make history, and that's kind of true. They say that nice people always finish last, and in life, in this topic we're talking about today, that's not necessarily true because there's a difference in being nice and being docile. So I don't believe that nice guys always finish last. Is there a reason, speaking of docile, is there a reason that we eat cows and other livestock animals. Why don't we eat lions and tigers? Just think about that for a minute. Why don't we breed giant herds of lions and tigers and eat them instead of cows? I live in Texas. I've been here over 30 years, going on 40 years. And Amarillo, Texas, where we live, I learned yesterday, and I knew this to some degree, but learned yesterday that within a 150-mile radius of Amarillo, Texas, we are responsible for a third of the beef production in the entire United States. So when something happens in our region that affects our livestock, it's a major issue nationally, not just in our local area. So we are responsible for feeding the beef to so many people, right? Lisa says, I never thought about eating a tiger. Of course not. Uh, why do you see and learn and know about tigers and lions? I mean, they fight back. They're ferocious and they're consistently fighting and competing against each other. You always hear this, the song going back to the leader of the pack, the wolf pack, the pride of lions, the tigers. They're always competing for dominance. They're fighting over a mate. They're fighting over a meal, fighting for their next meal. And it's that fight within them, the animal behavior that causes their race to extend its existence on this planet. The greatest predator of these people are humans who kill them for sport, but they also fight within themselves. They have this fight gene in them. It's part of their nature. It's that animal instinct that says, I got to go out and kill something. I've got to go out and kill a meal. I've got to bring it in. I've got to feed me, and I've got to feed my spouse, and I've got to feed my family. And in business, that's the animal instinct that causes you to go out and want to win that next contract. You want to win the next competition. We get our kids in sports and we put them in travel ball because we think that they may be that one breakout person that learns how to defeat everyone else, excel in their sport, and then they make all the money and they can live off of that. But don't you think it would be better to get into that sport, excel in that sport, excel in that business, and continue to do that and teach others to excel? Give them that animal instinct to do the same thing that you have done and go out and learn how to do that themselves. Earn the self-respect for themselves to go out and win, to have that fight, that animal instinct inside, to go out and fight for that kill. Is that not important? We eat cows because they're big and fat. We can fatten them up and they don't fight back. Other livestock animals, sheep, goats. I watch all of these off-grid living videos all the time on you, not all the time on YouTube. I don't watch network TV hardly at all, and all of these people that live off-grid, they all have animals. They've got cows, goats, chickens for the eggs, pigs, and they name some of the people I watch. They name their pigs Ham and Bacon, or they name them Breakfast, Mr. Bacon. It's all because they're going to be familiar with these animals as they raise them, but they raise these animals to consume them, not because they're friends. We have pets. That's different. We don't eat our pets. You raise livestock animals because you're going to consume them in the future and they don't fight back. We don't eat lions and tigers because they would kill us back. Do we not understand that if you are a harmless, docile, and unable to fight back, you will be a victim all of your life to the other people who have that fight instinct, to the other people that have that winning instinct to go out and conquer the field that they're in, to be a very successful business person, to be a very fierce competitor. In the sports, the thing that is the biggest atrocity in sports today, I'm going to get some flack for saying this. I don't really care. Someone can try and cancel me if they want, but I think the biggest injustice that is happening right now are men competing in women's sports. And the reason I believe that is because in the animal instinct game, a lion is fighting against other lions. When a lion is fighting for dominance of the pride, he's not fighting against the women, he's fighting against other men for the respect and the ability to lead the women who are part of that group, but they're not fighting against a woman for dominance of the pride of lions, right? A water buffalo fights another male, a bull, a deer, an elk. They fight against other men for the ability to lead the herd, mate with the women, and cause their breed to expand. The bull elk is not fighting against a cow elk for leadership of the herd. They fight against other men. And if a elk, a deer, a bull, whatever that animal is defeated, many times they automatically go in line under that person as subservient to that other animal, and they know their place, right? And we call it the pecking order in chickens. You learn the pecking order, you know where you fit, and you'd better be dang sure you've got the ability and the instinct to go out and challenge the leader again if you want to be the dominant leader. I believe we all need to have that ability. We all need to have the ability to challenge the leader, and we better be able to be confident enough, have the respect in our own ability enough to win, right? I'm telling you. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. The comments coming in. It's just true. The males don't need to be competing in sports against women. It's not right. And here's the thing that sounds the weak part about it is it's not fair. But these women are competing in sports because they have the eye of the tiger. They have the will to win. They want to go out. They respect their ability. They fought and trained to earn the self-respect and the respect of others to go compete in these sports against other females. The women in the Pride of Lions are all battling for the attention of the lion. That's the leader, right? They're not battling each other for the attention of the lion that's been defeated, the lion that's walking at the back of the pack. You don't see women fighting their way to the bottom of the pecking order. They're fighting their way to the top of the pecking order because the strongest, most attractive female wants to go and be in relationship with the strongest and most attractive male, the one that's a provider, the one that's a defender. And that's what our women want. This isn't women's lib. This isn't masculine toxicity. It's just the way it works. It's how our race moves forward. And when we breed out the self-confidence and the self-respect, and we teach our kids not to fight, not because of an ability to fight, but because fighting is wrong and you should be weak and you should just blend in and don't stand out and don't bring any attention to yourself. People that do that seldom make history. They seldom run a company. They seldom win in life. They seldom get the best looking mate, female or male, right? The females are all out there competing to look the best, be the best, talk the best, act the best. I've never seen anyone more intent on doing everything and anything that they can to better themselves and look better for their mate, for the opposite sex. And men should be doing the same. We've talked about toxic masculinity, and it makes me sick because it's not toxic, it's masculine. And we need to be that. It's important, it's imperative for us to move forward as a race, for men to be men. Terry says, I am a conformist. You are a conformist to the cause of Christ, but you are not a conformist to the ways of this world, my brother. Great comment. I love that. We have got to get away from this notion that men should unfairly compete against women. And the men that are competing against women, we have found time and time again, are the men that could not compete against other men. They were fighting their way to the bottom of the pecking order. So they've decided the only way for them to get that win, that trophy, that championship is to go up to compete against a weaker sex. So if I can't win against another man, I'm going to go out and start fighting women. If I can't win in a business, I'm only going to go out and compete against female businesses. I'm in the real estate world, right? And it used to be 100 years ago, it was dominated almost entirely by men. And about 50 years ago, 40 years ago, women got into real estate and started excelling at it. And even to this day, it's still a male driven business, even though a majority of the agents in Amarillo, Texas right now are women. And the women all battle in their own ways for the amount of clientele that they get. And so do some of the men, but many of the people I know and come in contact with in the business simply exist for the business that happens to come their way. They're not out there fighting for their next client. They're not out there fighting for the win, for their client to win in a multiple offer a transaction. Many times, including today, we have clients that are in a multiple offer situation, and we have entered an offer. I'm negotiating one right now. There were 7 offers on the property, and we're in negotiations. We're the top 2 offers. The other offers have been kicked out of the. They're not even in the game anymore, right? Not even in the game, because they don't have the animal instinct, the will to win. It's been bred out of them, and they're in it just to go out and get whatever they can find, but they're not fighting for the next client. They're not fighting to grow their business. They're not fighting. That will to win has been bred out of us, and we need to regain that. And if you don't have it, I urge you to do that. Go to the gym. Go take some self-defense classes. Go to a business course. Ladies, same thing applies to you. Go to martial arts. Learn how to defend yourself. Don't be, if you're not in a relationship to where you have a defender, you need to learn how to defend yourself. My daughter works for me here at the team, Erica. I love her. She went to Ty Garrett's Extreme Martial Arts for years. She went through the belt ranks. She's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and learned how to beat up her sister, her older sister. It's a standing joke, but she doesn't go around. She doesn't practice martial arts anymore, but it grew her self-confidence and self-respect in her ability to know she didn't need to be bullied anymore. She didn't need to be afraid of the monster under the bed. She didn't need to fear the attitudes and opinions of those around about her, because she had the self-respect to stand up for her own ways, her own style. The things that she has defended herself against me, her own dad, are the things that make us the most proud of her, because she earned that self-respect within herself to know I can speak my mind, I can voice my opinion, and I don't have to think the same way everyone else does. There are leaders and there are followers. There are hustlers and there are strollers. If you're going to continue to go through life strolling, just taking what life hands you, is going to be very hard for you to have that self-respect, for you to have that confidence in your later years that you have done what you needed to do to secure your future. I posted this before as a meme, and it's been quoted by many people. It's a quote that's been around for quite a while. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. Fight or flight. What does that mean? If you have trained to fight and you have tested your mettle in a fight, in the wars, in the battles and trials of life, and you can take that sword and put it away and go learn how to grow a garden, that is a wonderful thing. But how many of you know, if we go to war and we have a whole army full of gardeners that do not know how to fight, they simply know how to grow food, it would be a very, very fast losing battle. It's better to be a warrior in a garden and know how to fight when called upon than to be a gardener in a war and do not know how to fight. The Bible says that the meek shall inherit the earth. And most of my life, I believed and was taught that meek meant weak. And now, over the last few years, many of us have come to learn and be taught that that is not the case at all. Meek means strength under control. How many of you remember the Kenny Rogers song, The Coward of the County? Everyone remembered Tommy, Tommy's love for Becky. Tommy was a big, tough farm boy, but Tommy never got in a fight. Tommy was picked on. He fell in love with Becky. Becky was assaulted. Tommy goes to the bar, and when they try to laugh him out of the bar, he stops at the door and locks the door so they can't leave. And he turns around and he whips the whole crowd. How many of you remember John Wayne in the movie with the little farm boy? And the boy tells him he doesn't know how to swim. John Wayne picks him up and throws him in the pond. Says, sink or swim, boy. That's how he learned how to swim. You have to know that you know that you know that you can fight. And you may not win, but the best way to find out is if you can win is to enter the war. Don't be afraid to fight when called upon. But once you learn that you can win, here's the test of your mettle. Once you learn that you have the eye of the tiger, once you learn that you can respect yourself, have confidence in your ability, never allow that confidence to be used, that self-respect to become so powerful that you use it to abuse another. Strength under control is the ultimate goal. You need to know you have the ability to win and use that to better yourself in your business, in your field, in your sport, in your relationships, and always use that for good. Because the moment you take that ability and you use it for evil, you become the bully. No one likes a bully. Everyone loves the anti-hero. Everyone loves the superhero. I had Ty Garrett, the teacher, leader, coach at Extreme Martial Arts on the show recently. We had talked about this. Many of his students will dress up like a superhero when they go to fight in their martial arts battles. And why do we do that? Why do we flock to the movie theaters to watch these shows about the superhero? Why do we all want to go watch John Wick? Why do we want to go watch these people, the underdogs, win? They're pushed to their breaking point, and when they break, their mettle is tested, and we learn if they can fight or not. At the end of the day, when all seems lost and Superman shows up, he defeats the enemy, and we all cheer. Every one of us needs to be our own Superman, our own Superwoman. We all need to have that knowledge within ourselves that we have the ability to win, that we have the eye of the tiger, we have the competitive spirit, but we don't use it for evil. We don't want to become the person that we are fighting against. We just need to have the self-respect within ourselves to know that we can if we need to. Bonus tip into the show: know how to wield your sword, but keep it in your sheath until it's absolutely necessary. Everyone, I thank you for tuning into the show today. I hope this has helped you learn a little bit about who you are and who you need to become. I've heard it said in the past from a great preacher friend of mine, so many kids are afraid of the monster under the bed. It's hard for them to go to sleep at night because they're laying in fear of the monster of the bed. He said, but I've taught my kids to have enough self-respect, enough eye of the tiger instinct that monsters stay awake at night, worried about my kid under the bed. You need to become the monster under the bed. Have that ability, have that self-respect, that self-confidence that you don't have to live in fear anymore, but walk in peace with all men. Love you guys. Until next time, remember, courage begins at the end of your comfort zone. I recommend you go out there and get uncomfortable today. Make a new friend. Start a new trend. Start something new. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.